Hi everyone, we are back with another chapter of Percy Jackson and the Battle of Labyrinth. This has been a very interesting book and far more mature than the other books. Not mature in the sense of being 18 plus or something, but the growth of the book, the sensibilities and the writing of showing how a teenager's feelings in personal life, how the teenager's feelings are made. And the writer Rick Riordan didn't have to specify that this person was feeling this. He wrote how the feeling would be felt, and he wrote that so you could say, oh, Annabeth is jealous, or oh, Percy is jealous, or oh, Percy's going through a trauma right now. Like the head trauma, he hit his head. So instead of saying that, he writes that his eyes were dizzy because he hit his head on the workbench. Or he would also write that Annabeth was grumbling and would not talk nicely to Rachel, instead of saying that she was jealous of Rachel. I could rant about the writing style all day long, but not now. We have to finish the chapter 16 that we are going to start now. But before we start, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel because it is going to be good for all of us. Rachel, oh my god. Chapter 16, I open a coffin. Jumping out of the window 150 meters above ground is not usually my idea of fun, especially when I'm wearing bronze wings and flapping my arms like a duck. I plummeted towards the valley and the red rocks below. I was pretty sure I was going to become a grease spot on the Garden of the Gods as Annabeth yelled from somewhere above me, "Spread your wings, keep them extended." A small part of my brain that wasn't engulfed in panic heard her, and my arms responded. As soon as I spread them out, the wings stiffened, caught the wind, and my descent slowed. I soared downwards, but at a controlled angle like a kite in a dive. Experimentally, I flapped my arms once. I arched into the sky, and the wind whistled in my ears. "Yeah!" I yelled. That feeling was unbelievable. After getting the hang of it, I felt like the wings were part of my body. I could soar and swoop and dive anywhere I wanted to. I turned and saw my friends Rachel, Annabeth, and Nico spiraling above me, glinting in the sunlight. Behind them, smoke billowed from the windows of Daedalus' workshop. "Land! These wings won't last forever," Annabeth yelled. "How long?" Rachel cried. "I don't want to find out," Annabeth said. We swooped down towards the Garden of the Gods. I did a complete circle around one of the rock spires and freaked out a couple of climbers. "Percy, why?" Then the four of us soared across the valley, over a road, and landed on the terrace of a visitor center. It was late afternoon and the place looked pretty empty, but we ripped off our wings as quickly as we could. Looking at them, I could see Annabeth was right. The self-adhesive seals had bound the wings to our backs were already melting, and we were shedding bronze feathers. It seemed a shame that we couldn't fix them and couldn't leave them around for the mortals, so we stuffed the wings in the bin outside the cafeteria. I used a tourist binocular camera to look up at the hill where Daedalus' workshop had been, but it had vanished. No more smoke, no broken windows, just the side of a hill. The workshop moved, Annabeth guessed. There's no telling where. "So what do we do now? How do we get back in the maze?" Annabeth gazed at the summit of the peak in the distance. "Maybe we can't. If Daedalus died, he said his life force was tied to the labyrinth. The whole thing might have been destroyed. Maybe that will stop Luke's invasion. I thought about Grover and Tyson still down there somewhere. And Daedalus, even though he'd done some terrible things and put everybody I cared about at risk, it still seemed like a pretty horrible way to die. No, he isn't dead, Nico said. How can you be so sure? I asked. I know when people die. It's a feeling I get, like buzzing in my ears. What about Tyson and Grover then? Nico shook his head. That's harder. They're not humans or half bloods. They don't have mortal souls. We have to get into the town. Our chances of finding the entrance to the labyrinth will be better. If we have to make it back to the camp before Luke and his army, Annabeth decided. We could just take a plane, Rachel said. I shuddered. I don't fly. But you just did. That was low flying, and even that's risky. Flying up really high? That's Zeus's territory. I can't do it. Besides, we don't even have time for a flight. The labyrinth is the quickest way back. I didn't want to say it, but I was also hoping that maybe, just maybe, we would find Grover and Tyson along the way. So we need a car to take us into the city, Annabeth said. Rachel looked down into the parking lot. She grimaced, as if she were about to do something she regretted. I'll take care of it. How? Annabeth asked. Just trust me. Annabeth looked uneasy, but she nodded. Okay, I'm going to buy a prism in the gift shop to make a rainbow and send an iris message to the camp. I'll go with you. I'm hungry. I'll stick with Rachel then. Meet you guys in the parking lot? Rachel frowned like she didn't want me with her. That made me feel kind of bad, but I followed her down to the parking lot anyway. She headed towards a big black car parked at the edge of the lot. It was chauffeured Lexus, like the kind I always saw driving around Manhattan. The driver was out the front reading a newspaper. He wore a dark suit and tie. What are you going to do? I asked Rachel. Just wait here, she said miserably. Please. Rachel marched straight up to the driver and talked to him. He frowned. Rachel said something else. He turned pale and hastily folded up his magazine. He nodded and fumbled for his cell phone. After a brief call, he opened the back door of the car for Rachel to get in. She pointed back in my direction. The driver bobbed his head some more, like, yes, ma'am, whatever you want. I couldn't figure out why he was acting so flustered. Rachel came back to get me just as Nico and Annabeth appeared from the gift shop. I talked to Chiron. They are doing their best to prepare for battle, but he still wants us back. They're going to need every hero they can get. Did we find a ride? Annabeth said. The driver's ready when we are, Rachel said. The chauffeur was now talking to another guy in khakis and polo shirt, probably his client who'd rented the car. The client was complaining, but I could hear the driver saying, I'm sorry, sir. Emergency. I've ordered another car for you. Come on, Rachel said. She led us to the car and got in without even looking at the annoyed guy who'd rented it. A minute later, we were cruising down the road. The seats were leather. There was plenty of legroom. The back seat had flat panel TVs built into the headrests and a mini fridge stocked with bottled water, drinks, and snacks. We started pigging out. Where to, Miss Dare? The driver asked. I'm not sure yet, Robert. We just need to drive through the town and look around. What do we say, miss? Do you know this guy? I looked at Rachel. No, but he dropped everything to help you. Why? Just keep your eyes peeled. Help me look, she said. Which didn't exactly answer my question. We drove through Colorado Springs for about half an hour and saw nothing that Rachel considered a possible labyrinth entrance. Oh, I was very aware of Rachel's shoulder pressing against mine. I kept wondering who she was exactly and how she could walk up to some random chauffeur and immediately get a ride. You know, Percy, in our times, we use internet to find out about people. I wish you would do that. I wish you had done that. After about an hour, we decided to head towards Denver, thinking that maybe a bigger city would more likely to have a labyrinth entrance. But we were all getting nervous. We were losing time. Then we then right as we were leaving Colorado Springs, Rachel sat bolt upright. Get off the highway, miss? The driver glanced back. I saw something, I think. Get off here. The driver swerved across the traffic and took the exit. What did you see? I asked, because we were pretty much out of the city now. There wasn't anything around except hills, grasslands, and some scattered farm buildings. Rachel had the driver turn down his unpromising dirt road. We drove by a sign too fast for me to read it, but Rachel said Western Museum of Mining and Industry. For a museum, it didn't look like much. A little house like an old fashioned railroad station, some drills and pumps, and old steam shovels on display outside. Percy, darling, it literally says mining and industry. That could mean two things, either Daedalus' workshop or Hephaestus' workshop. Sorry, Hephaestus' forges. There, Rachel pointed to a hole in the side of a nearby hill, a tunnel that was boarded up and chained, an old mine entrance. A door to the labyrinth? How can you be so sure? Annabeth asked. Well, look at it. I can see it, okay? She thanked the driver and we all got out. He didn't ask for money or anything. Are you sure you'll be all right, Miss Dare? I'd be happy to call your... No, really. Thanks, Robert. But we're fine, Rachel said. The museum seemed to be closed, so nobody bothered us as we climbed the hill to the mine shaft. When we got to the entrance, I saw the mark of Daedalus engraved on the padlock. Though how Rachel had seen something so tiny all the way from the highway, I had no idea. I touched the padlock and the chains fell away. We kicked down a few boards and walked inside. For better or worse, we were back in the labyrinth. The dirt tunnels turned to stone. They wound around and split off and basically tried to confuse us, but Rachel had no trouble guiding us. We told her we needed to get back to New York, and she hardly even paused when the tunnels offered a choice. To my surprise, Rachel and Annabeth started up conversation as we walked. Annabeth asked her more about her background, but Rachel was evasive, so they started talking about architecture. It turned out that Rachel knew something about it from studying art. They talked about different facades on buildings around New York. Have you seen this one? Blah, blah, blah. So I hung back and walked next to Nico in uncomfortable silence. Thanks for coming after us, I told him at last. Nico's eyes narrowed. He didn't seem as angry as he used to, just suspicious, careful. I owed you for the ranch, Percy. Plus, I wanted to see Daedalus for myself. Minos was right. In a way, Daedalus should die. Nobody should be able to avoid death that long. It's not natural. That's what you were after all along, trading Daedalus' soul for your sister's. Nico walked for another 50 meters before answering it. It hasn't been easy, having only the dead for company, knowing that I'll never be accepted by the living. Only the dead respect me, and they only do that out of fear. You could be accepted. You could have friends at camp. Do you really believe that, Percy? He stared at me. I didn't answer. The truth was I didn't know. Nico had always been a little different, but since Bianca's death, he'd almost become scary. He had his father's eyes, that intense, manic fire, and that made you suspect he was either a genius or a madman. And the way he'd banished Minos and called himself the king of ghosts. It was kind of impressive, but it made me uncomfortable too. Before I could figure out what to tell him, I ran into Rachel, who'd stopped in front of us. We had come to a crossroads. The tunnel continued straight ahead, but a side tunnel teed off to the right, a circular shaft carved from black volcanic rock. What is it? I asked. Rachel stared down the dark tunnel. In the dim flashlight beam, her face looked like one of Nico's specters. Is that the way? Annabeth asked. No, not at all, Rachel said nervously. Why are we stopping then? I asked. Listen, Nico said. I heard wind coming down the tunnel as if the exit were close. I smelled something vaguely familiar. Something that brought back bad memories. Eucalyptus trees, like in California. Last winter, when we'd faced Luke and Titan Atlas on top of Mount Tamalpais, the air had smelled just like that. There's something evil down that tunnel. Something very powerful, Rachel said. And the smell of death, Nico added, which made me feel a lot better. Annabeth and I exchanged glances. Luke's entrance, she guessed. The one to Mount Orthus. The Titan's palace. I have to check it out, I said. Percy, no. Percy, why? Luke could be right there. Or Kronos, I said. I have to find out what's going on. Then we'll all go. Annabeth hesitated. No, it's too dangerous. If they got hold of Nico or Rachel for that matter, Kronos could use them. You stay here and guard them. What I didn't say, I was also worried about Annabeth. I didn't trust what she would do if she saw Luke again. He had fooled her and manipulated her too many times before. Percy, don't. Don't go up there alone, Rachel said. I'll be quick. I won't do anything stupid. Sure. I promised. Annabeth took a Yankees cap out of the pocket. At least take this and be careful. Thanks. I remembered the last time Annabeth and I parted ways, when she'd given me a kiss for luck in Mount St. Helens. This time all I got was the hat. I put it on. Here goes nothing, and I sneaked invisibly down the dark stone tunnel. Before I even got to the exit, I heard voices, the growling, barking sounds of sea demon smiths and Telkeens. At least we salvaged the blade. The master will still reward us, one said. Yes, yes, rewards beyond measure, a second shrieked. Another voice, this one more human, said, yeah, well, that's great, but now if you're done with me, no, half-blood, you must help us make the presentation. It's a great honor, Telkeen said. Gee, thanks, the half-blood said, and I realized it was Ethan Nakamura, the guy who'd run away after I'd saved his sorry life in the arena. Seriously, Ethan, either get out or do something useful. What the hell are you doing? I crept towards the end of the tunnel. I had to remind myself I was invisible. They shouldn't be able to see me. A blast of cold air hit me as I emerged. I was standing near the top of Mount Tam. The Pacific Ocean spread out below, grey under a cloudy sky. About 6 meters downhill, two Telkeens were placing something on a big rock, something long and thin and wrapped in black cloth. Ethan was helping them open it. Careful, fool, the Telkin scolded. One touch and the blade will sever your soul from your body. Ethan swallowed nervously. Maybe I'll let you unwrap it then. I glanced up at the mountain's peak where a black marble fortress loomed, just like I'd seen in my dreams. It reminded me of an oversized mausoleum, the walls 15 meters high. I had no idea how mortals could miss the fact that it was here. But then again, everything below the summit seemed fuzzy to me, as if there were thick veil between me and the lower half of the mountain. There was magic going on here, really powerful mist. Above me, the sky swirled into a huge funnel cloud. I couldn't see Atlas, but I could hear him groaning in the distance, still laboring under the weight of the sky, just beyond the fortress. There, the Telkine said. Reverently, he lifted the weapon, and my blood turned ice. It was a Sith. Two, a 2 meter long blade curved like a crescent moon, and a wooden handle wrapped in leather. The blade glinted two different colors, steel and bronze. It was the weapon of Kronos, the one he'd used to slice up his father, Oranus, before the gods had taken it away from him and cut Kronos to pieces, casting him into Tartarus. Now the weapons was reforged. We must sanctify it in blood. Then you, half-blood, shall help present it when the Lord awakes, the Telkine said. I ran towards the fortress, my pulse pounding in my ears. I didn't want to get anywhere close to that horrible black mausoleum, but I knew what I had to do. I had to stop Kronos from rising. This might be my only chance. I dashed through the dark foyer and into the main hall. The floor the floor shone like a mahogany piano, pure black and yet full of light. Black marble statues lined the walls. I didn't recognize the faces, but I knew I was looking at images of titans who'd ruled before the gods. At the end of the room, between two bronze braziers, was a dais, and on the dais, the golden sarcophagus. Percy, you said you wouldn't do anything stupid. I don't think this is smart. See, this is why you need Annabeth. This is exactly why you need Annabeth with you. The room was silent except for the crackle of the fires. Luke wasn't here. No guards, nothing. It was too easy, but I approached the dais. Percy, no! The sarcophagus, just like I remembered, about 3 meters long, much too big for a human. It was carved with elaborate scenes of death and destruction, pictures of the gods being trampled under chariots, temples and famous world landmarks being smashed and burned. The whole coffin gave off an aura of extreme cold, like I was walking into a freezer. My breath began to steam. I drew Riptide and took a little comfort from the familiar weight of the sword in my hand. Whenever I'd approached Kronos before, his evil voice had spoken in my mind. Why was he silent now? He'd been shredded into 1,000 pieces, cut with his own teeth. What would I find if I opened that lid? How could they make a new body for him? I had no answers. Percy, you literally have the answer. Daedalus. I just knew that if he was about to rise, I had to strike him down before he got his Sith. I had to figure out a way to stop him. I stood over the coffin. The lid was decorated even more intricately than the sides, the scenes of carnage and power. In the middle was an inscription carved in letters even older than Greek, a language of magic. I couldn't read it exactly, but I knew what it said. Kronos, Lord of Time. My hand touched the lid. Percy, Percy? See. Use your head. Oh my god. I'm so angry and so pissed right now. My fingertips turned blue. Frost gathered on my sword. Then I heard noises behind me, voices approaching. It was now or never. I pushed back the golden lid and it fell to the floor with a huge whoom. I lifted my sword ready to strike, but when I looked inside, I didn't comprehend what I was seeing. Mortal legs, dressed in grey trousers, a white t shirt, hands folded over his stomach. One piece of his chest was missing, a clean black hole about the size of a bullet wound, right where his heart should have been. His eyes were closed. His skin was pale, blonde hair, and a scar running along the left side of his face. The body in the coffin was Luke's. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Kronos did something horrible. Kronos killed Luke, and he's residing in his body. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I know I shouldn't be feeling bad, but I feel so bad. I feel horrible for Luke. I think this is worse than we had thought. Oh my god. I was not prepared for this at all. I wasn't. I. I. I really wasn't prepared at all. I should have stabbed him right then. I should have brought the point of riptide down with all my strength. But I was too stunned. I didn't understand. As much as I hated Luke, as much as he had betrayed me, I just didn't get why he was in the coffin and why he looked so very dead. Then the voices of the Telkines were right behind me. What has happened? One of the demons screamed when he saw the lid. I stumbled away from the dais, forgetting that I was invisible, and hid behind a column as they approached. Careful, perhaps he stirs. We must present the gifts now, immediately. The other demon warned. The two Talkines shuffled forward and knelt, holding the scythe on its wrapping cloth. My lord, one said, your symbol of power is remade. Silence. Nothing happened in the coffin. You fool! It requires the half-blood first. The Talkine muttered. Ethan stepped back. Whoa, what do you mean he requires me? Don't be a coward, the first Talkine hissed. He does not require your death, only your allegiance. Pledge him your service, renounce the gods, that is all. No, I yelled. It was a stupid thing to do, but I charged into the room and took off the cap. Ethan, don't. Trespasser! The Talkine bared their seal teeth. The master will deal with you soon enough. Hurry, boy. Ethan, I pleaded. Don't listen to them. Help me destroy it. Ethan turned towards me, his eye patch blending in the shadow on his face. His expression was something like pity. I told you not to spare me, Percy. An eye for an eye. You ever heard that? I learned what it means the hard way, when I discovered my godly parent. I am the child of Nemesis, goddess of revenge, and this is what I was made for. He turned towards the dais. I renounced the gods. What have they ever done for me? I will see them destroyed. I will serve Kronos. The building rumbled. A wisp of blue light rose from the floor at Ethan Nakamura's feet. It drifted towards the coffin and began to shimmer. Like a cloud of pure energy, then it descended into the sarcophagus. Luke sat bolt upright. His eyes opened and they were no longer blue. They were golden, the same color as the coffin. The hole in his chest was gone. He was complete. He leaped out of the coffin with ease, and where his feet touched the floor, the marble froze like craters of ice. He looked at Ethan and the Telkeens with those horrible golden eyes, as if he were a newborn baby, not sure what he was seeing. Then he looked at me, and a smile of recognition crept across his face. This body has been well prepared. His voice was like a razor blade running over my skin. It was Luke's, but not Luke's. Underneath his voice was another, more horrible sound. An ancient, cold sound like metal scraping against a rock. Don't you think so, Percy Jackson? I couldn't move. I couldn't answer. Kronos threw back his head and laughed. The scar on his face rippled. Luke feared you, the Titan's voice said. His jealousy and hatred have been powerful tools. It has kept him obedient. For that, I thank you. Ethan collapsed in terror. He covered his face with his hands. The Talkeens trembled, holding up the Sith. Finally, I found my nerve. I lunged at the thing that used to be Luke, thrusting my blade straight at his chest, but his skin deflected the blow like he was made of pure steel. He looked at me with amusement. Then he flicked his hand and I flew across the room. I slammed against a pillar. I struggled to my feet, blinking the stars out of my eyes, but Kronos had already grasped the handle of his Sith. Ah, much better. Backbiter, Luke called it. An appropriate name. Now that it is reforged completely, it shall indeed bite back. What have you done to Luke? I groaned. Kronos raised his Sith. He serves me with his whole being as I require. The difference is he feared you, Percy Jackson. I do not. That's when I ran. There wasn't even any thought to it. No debate in my mind about, gee, should I stand up to him and try to fight again? Nope. I simply ran. But my feet felt like lead. Time slowed down around me like the world was turning to jello. I had had this feeling once before, and I knew it was the power of Kronos. His presence was so strong it could bend time itself. Run, little hero, run. He laughed. I glanced back and saw him approaching leisurely, swinging his Sith as if he were enjoying the feel of having it in his hands again. No weapon in the world could stop him, no amount of celestial bronze. He was 3 meters away when I heard, "Percy!" Rachel's voice. Something flew past me and a blue plastic hairbrush hit Kronos in the eye. "Ow!" he yelled. For the moment it was only Luke's voice, full of surprise and pain. My limbs were freed and I ran straight into Rachel, Nico, and Annabeth, who were standing in the entry hall, their eyes wide with dismay. "Luke, what?" Annabeth called. I grabbed her by the shirt and hauled her after me. I ran as fast as I ever run, straight out of the fortress. We were almost back to the Labyrinth entrance when I heard the loudest bellow in the world, the voice of Kronos coming back into control. "After them!" "No!" Nico yelled. He clapped his hands together and a jagged spire of rock the size of an 18-wheeler erupted from the ground right in front of the fortress. The tremor it caused was so powerful, the first columns of the building came crashing down. I heard muffled screams from the Telkeens inside. Dust billowed everywhere. We lunged into the labyrinth and kept running, the howl of the Titan Lord shaking the entire world behind us. Only 4 chapters left. Oh my god, 4 chapters are left. You guys must have seen me cry for the first time. I didn't get even this much emotional when Zoe died, and I really, really liked her. I didn't even like Luke. But it's probably a different reason which I cannot even explain why. And well. Kronos is alive. I have no idea what is the point of the last book, but I assume Kronos is not going to die until the last book's last page. So I'm holding on to that. Thank you so much for watching. I don't think I have the energy to talk about this chapter because the sheer shock that I'm going through, too much. I mean, at one point my brain would refuse to accept it and just move on from that fact, literally. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. This was a really stressful time in my life. Thank you so much for watching. My phone is about to fall off. I will see you guys next time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe though. Bye.